Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. It's your boy Booker T along with Brad Gilmore. We got our special guest here for the week on the line. Hey man, we getting ready for the Royal Rumble. Gonna be heading into Houston, Texas in January. Hey guys, Kevin, how you feeling, man?
I'm all right, man. I'm still kind of recovering from the last few weeks there, but I'm doing all right, all things considered. How are you guys?
It's pretty good, man. But talk to me, man. Talk to me about the schedule, man. I mean, you've been on the road for a long time. You've been in the business a long time, and the independent scene is one thing, and it's rough out there as well. But you get thrown, out of the frying pan right into the fire on the road. Countless days. How's the old body holding up?
Yeah, when I first started with WWE, it was odd because I got signed to NXT, and then I was off for not off. I was at the Performance Center from August of that year to like December, and I wasn't wrestling. I was only training at the Performance Center, but it didn't involve much traveling or anything like that. And that was pretty much my first real break in terms of traveling so much that I had had in a decade at that point. Because like you said, I was doing the independence and all that stuff. But then once I started with NXT, shortly after I got moved up to the main roster, and one of the guys that told me once you're on the train, it feels like it's just you go and go and go and there's no break. And I did that for 4.5 years until I went away for surgery late last year. But that's really true, man. It's just everything kind of just blends together, and from show to show, week to week, month to month, year to year, and you only realize how crazy this train of life and this way of life is once you kind of get off the train, right? But yeah. It's a small sacrifice to pay to get to do what we do, and that's just the traveling part of it. Like you said, obviously, all the stuff we do in the ring catches up to us eventually too. And for me, it's been catching up with me even quicker now that the AOP have been targeting me. Those are very big, strong boys, and yeah. Hasn't worked out in my favor lately.
I always talk about that, man. From the outside looking in, the fans, they really don't understand sometimes. I was when I got to WWE, and I had got a chance to take a little bit of time off because I got injured and wanted to take my boat out, and I realized I hadn't taken my boat out in 6 years. I was like, well, what the heck's going on here? It's like I was in a time warp, But no, that's the real life aspect of it. It becomes a job. It becomes so real to you once you do get signed to a big company like that. How hard is it for you to actually separate, your home life from actually, the road?
Well, man, so that's kind of been well documented in various network specials that I've done in the past, or WWE, put out a DVD where they told my story a few years ago, and that's one thing. Like a recurring theme through it all is that I have a very hard time leaving work behind when I go home, and I think my wife would tell you that that's very true. But those months off, when I did have the knee surgeries there, I had the surgeries on both knees at the same time last October, or October of 2018, and I took it was about 4 or 5 months to recover. And I think that time was really helpful in helping me try to find a different way to think about this industry, and it consumed me. It was really, I was obsessed with it since the moment I discovered it when I was 11 years old, and I never just stopped. And even now, I'm still, if I'm driving and I'm by myself, I'll start thinking of this company and wrestling and how I can make a difference and make an impact and all this stuff. And I just can't help it. And I think part of that has been crucial to my success, but it's also a bit unhealthy if you just let it consume you too much. And I think I've gotten better at trying to, find the measure, a proper measure there. Shawn Michaels was actually instrumental in that too, because that day where I had my last show before I was leaving for the surgery, I happened to be on the same flight as him. And at the airport, right before I got on the flight, he was telling me about how it's so important to really find a way to disconnect. That's a guy I've looked up to my entire life. He's actually the reason I even wanted to become a wrestler in the first place. So when those words came from him, they resonated very strongly. And thankfully my wife and my children are, so great at helping me disconnect as well. So it's been better, and I've been getting better at it.
And I didn't. And that's something that I didn't even know. But it's something that I always try to talk to young wrestlers about and try to stress how important it is to really make sure you think about the kids and think about the fam. I got a son that's 35 years old, and right now him and I were totally disconnected and certain, and literally and figuratively we were disconnected. And it was, I feel like a lot of it was my fault. Now I'm getting a second chance with my kids. I got 9-year-old twins, and now when I'm out in public with my kids, I won't sign autographs with them when I'm with them. I won't take any photos with them. I say, hey, this is their time, and it's very, very important. So I just want to stress that to you. But you Canadian, man, you had a lot of examples, a lot of influences. I would think, growing up, Pat Patterson, Rick Martel, the Quebecers, Heart Foundation. But I was reading that, like you just said, you watched, with your dad, Shawn Michaels and Diesel have a match, and that's what made you want to be a professional wrestler. How the hell that happened?
Well, so what happened is my dad rented a tape at the time of WrestleMania 11, and I wasn't super interested, to watch it or anything like that. But when he put it in, I happened to walk by as it was beginning, and the first thing I saw were the Blue Brothers being led to the ring, and their opponents were the British Bulldog and Lex Luger. And I sat down and watched it, and I became a huge fan of the British Bulldog instantly. So I always say my first favorite wrestler was the British Bulldog. But then about 2 hours later, Shawn Michaels came on for his match with Diesel. And at the time, I was 11 years old, and I was a very scrawny kid. You wouldn't guess it by the way I look now, but I was 11, and people would think I was 7 or 8 years old. So I was shorter and smaller than everybody at my age. And then Shawn Michaels, who, at the time was much smaller than all the other guys I had seen on the show so far, was also by far, to me, the best. So in my head, I was like, man, if that guy can be the best, and he's smaller than all the other ones, then maybe I can do this too. And that's really where the obsession began. And that's why I credit Shawn. His performance, and just everything he did that night really made me want to be a wrestler. And that was just from that point on. Like, even before that, at school you get asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? Everybody would have, the basic answers like policeman, or some kids would say astronaut, like the basic answers every kid answers. And I never had an answer. I literally always say, I don't know. And then wrestling came, and I'm like, oh, that's it. And then the obsession just grew from there.
That pretty much tell me where you got your wrestling style from, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at that age, I was really, I wanted to emulate Shawn Michaels as possible in terms of wrestling style and everything. But through the years, I became a huge fan of Steve Austin. Obviously, I became a huge fan of Steve Corino in ECW. And I always say those guys, and Owen Hart, like those are the 4 guys that I really, gravitate toward when I was watching wrestling as I grew up. So I just kind of started, it's not even you consciously take from them, but you watch these guys so much. When you start wrestling, you kind of can't help but be influenced by them. You know what I mean? And then eventually I got to meet all of them except for Owen, obviously. But all those guys became mentors of mine in their own way, even if they might not even realize. Like Steve and Shawn are always happy to talk to me anytime they see me about the business, about wrestling. They've taken my calls to give me advice when I was having a hard time, and they don't have to do that, but they're more than happy to. And me and Steve Corino, actually met. We wrestled each other. We wrestled alongside each other. He's taken me under his wing, and he's been crucial in my career. So it's pretty great to be able to connect with these guys that I looked up to for so long, and to be able to have them help me. It's been pretty incredible, right?
Hey, Kevin, it's Brad Gilmore here. You talk about your in-ring, techniques and where you got some of your in-ring work from, so who your influences there, but you're so great at trash talking. You're so great at the promos. I mean, whether you're trash talking during the match or before, who were your influences, and how did you develop your technique when it came to the promo? Because you're one of the best guys out there right now.
Well, thank you. So I never really, I can't tell you where I kind of picked this up, but I can tell you what made me realized how important it was. I was already kind of doing it before that moment. But in 2005, I actually met Steve Austin for the first time at an airport in Dallas. We were connecting. Me and Sami Zayn were actually on our way to an independent show in Los Angeles, and Steve was on our flight. So I spotted him in the corner of my eye. You know, he's kind of out by himself at the gate, and me and Sami went up to him, and he was very cordial, very happy to talk to us. And right before he got on, first class got called, so of course he was getting on the plane. And I'm like, hey, before you go, do you have one piece of advice for us? Those guys that are just trying to make it. And he just looked at us and said, just run your mouth. Whatever you do, don't stop running your mouth. Man, that really hit home with me. And I was already, you know, a guy who talked a lot of smack in his matches and in promos before that. But from that point on, I went into overdrive, and you know, it's become a big part of who I am and my persona in every match. And I think that's something that a lot of people look forward to, is hearing me talk, you know, on the microphone, but even during the matches as I'm having a match. I don't know why, I just can't seem to shut up. But obviously that influence from Steve, that piece of advice from Steve, really hit home.
You know, I was saying that, you know, when you hear it from someone that, especially that you respect, it resonates. You look at it totally different. I remember one time I was talking to Bray Wyatt, and I was telling him, I was like, when we was talking about, you know, theories and, you know, how you approach a match and whatnot. And I said, how many times have you gone into a match and you really want to, you know, just really beat the crap out of that guy that you're working? He goes, man, I don't know, you know. I go, I say, well, I felt that way every time. And he goes, man, I've never talked to anyone like this before. You know, it was like so cool. Actually, you know, someone like Bray say something like that. You know, and hopefully he took a little bit away from that, because I really think that's what the business is. The way you go out and work, man. I mean, I'm not just blowing smoke or anything like that. The way you go out there and work, you really try your best to bring it to life. You really try to make the fans not just see what you're doing out there. You try to make them feel, more importantly, and I think that's what's missing, you know, from the business. Let's switch gears a little bit. You're not a huge social media guy, man. Tell me why.
Well, so I was for a long time. First of all, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that book, and you know, that really means a lot, because you're right. That is my mindset. I try to make moments, and everything I do, I just try to make them count and make people feel what I feel. So thank you. But as far as social media goes, I used to be a huge social media guy, and it helped me almost make a bit of a name for myself while I was on the independents. That was a big crucial piece of having people know who I am and just pique people's curiosity and hopefully get them out to a show that I was performing at, you know. Yeah. But when I came to WWE, obviously WWE gives you a platform unlike any other independent wrestling promotions. There's nothing, like, no independent wrestling promotion has the following the WWE. That goes without saying. So you just have, there's just a lot more people that have access to you, and people just know you. A lot more people know you, and quite frankly, a lot of those people aren't good people. And through the years, I just experienced my share of really crappy things that have been said about me. People can pretty much say whatever they want, and I really won't bat an eyelash. But when they start going after kids, or even, it's not even my kids, like, I've seen people, I'll get this every day, right? I'll see people say, oh, you blocked my friend on Twitter. Why? And he never said anything about you. But the thing that I at one point used to do, and I don't really do it anymore, because like I said, I barely go on social media, but I used to see people talk about other people that I care about, like my coworkers or other wrestlers, and say really horrible things. And I would block those people as well, because if that's how they think about people I respect, I don't want no part of it, and I don't want them to be able to follow me or have access to me. You know, one guy that used to get dragged through the mud a lot was Roman, right? Roman Reigns. Yeah,
all the time. Yeah.
A lot of people, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for Roman. So a lot of times I would see people say really terrible things about him or his family, and I'd be like, I just can't. And then I would look, and those people were following. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want these people to have access to me. And it's not just Roman; it's so many people. I remember, the Young Bucks are friends of mine, and that's well documented. And I remember a fan seeing a fan, and I was tagged in the tweet, which is why I saw it. I don't know why I was tagged, but this guy was talking about how he hopes the Young Bucks break their neck.
Wow.
And I was like, well, then you're no fan. You're not a fan. It doesn't matter if you don't like them, you don't care for their stuff. To wish that on somebody, I want no part of it. And I actually, it's funny because I met that fan in an airport once, and I recognized him immediately. And he wanted my autograph, and I told him, no, we're good. You wish for my friends to break their necks. I really don't. And he's like, oh, I got hacked. I'm like, no, you didn't get hacked. But you know what I mean? Like, that's just the kind of stuff that has driven me away from social media.
Oh, man.
I'll still use it once in a while. You know, I like posting about my kids, my wife, my family. I like posting about my cats and stuff. Like, it's weird. I try to almost keep wrestling out of it because I don't enjoy that part of it. Like, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody thinks their opinion's important, and I just kind of don't care for it in that way.
No, man, I tell you, man, it just shows, you know, your integrity. And I tell you, my listeners out there that's listening right now, my listeners that's listening right now, I hope you guys learned something from this. This is a lesson to be learned right here about social media and about, you know, your words, you know what I mean? Words that a lot of times you can't take back after you put them out there, man. Kevin, we got the Rumble coming up in Houston, man. I know you're going to have something big. Probably going to finish that thing off with Seth Rollins. But I know you got a lot of stuff. You're busy. You got your rounds, whatnot. I just want to thank you, bro, for just sharing a little bit. We got to get you back on, man. Sharing a little bit of your story with me, man, because I think that's the part that people really want to hear, man. Thank you again for giving me some time stepping inside the Hall of Fame, bro.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on. I'll be back whenever you want. And I'm actually really thrilled you mentioned the Rumble. It's in Houston this year.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of incredible moments in my career in Houston. I won the Intercontinental title the first time there. I won the Universal title there. So if I happen to be in the Royal Rumble this year, you can bet winning it in Houston would be one more special moment in that city. So I'm hoping that'll happen. I'm really
bro. I appreciate you, bro. Thanks again for stepping inside the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.